Fox Sports.
We are Black Force. We are Ohio.
Oh, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, but then again, it's always a beautiful day in San Diego, California, as Fox Sports Ohio brings you Cincinnati Reds baseball. Tonight it's Game 2 of the 3-game weekend set, the Reds against the San Diego Padres. Hi, hello, and welcome to San Diego, everyone, along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welch and Jim Day and our whole crew. I'm George Grand. The Reds win game number 1 of this 3-game set. They're trying to have an above 500 road trip, and to do that, they're going to have to continue to hit the way they did last night. Boy, Jose Peraza was something else.
Well, you know, when Peraza's down there in the bottom of the lineup and he hits like he did last night, it's almost like a sneak attack. You know, it's unfair on the pitcher to have this kind of production out of a guy buried down the lineup. We're used to seeing him hit some flares in the shallow right field and in the center field. But last night he hit a ball especially hard, way into the deepest part of the ballpark right here. Scored a couple of runs. He was single-handedly really dismantling the Padres pitching last night. And when he gets it going, he really shows some signs. But so far for Jose Peraza, it's been kind of a streaky year.
Streaky year. 3 hits last night were big, and yeah, the pitching for the Reds last night was pretty big too. Tyler Mahle was outstanding. Tonight, Harvey will get the ball, and can Matt Harvey be what the Reds hope he will be?
Well, they think he's going to be a step better than he was last time out in Colorado against the Rockies. I think that maybe Coors Field got him a little bit there. But I really like his command. I mean, he stays together. He's worked on his delivery. He's finally feeling like his arm is feeling much better. The feeling in his fingers is much better than it's been in a long time. A slider is good. I mean, Harvey, there's no reason why this guy can't go out and dominate the Padres, because it's a ball club that doesn't score a lot of runs. It's a team that, you know, except for 1 or 2 players in the middle of the lineup like Villanueva, aren't really a bunch of home run hitters. Hosmer and Villanueva, the 2 guys you got to worry about there. I think Harvey knows his way around a lineup like that.
Well, the big right-hander will get the ball for the Reds. A left-hander will get the ball for the Padres. It'll be Eric Lauer.
Well, Eric Lauer's a young kid. I mean, he's going to be 23 years old tomorrow. Drafted out of Kent State, #1, 2016. So really, there are a lot of guys that are his age still down in AA, but he has been pretty good at times. Lately, he's been not so good. What happens to a young pitcher, when it starts to go bad, it goes bad in a hurry, and that is evident by the last time out. He only won 2 1/3 innings.
Well, this is rock and roll marathon weekend in San Diego, and the hits just keep coming in for Scooter Gennett. Coming up next, Jim Day will sit by with Scooter. Guess what? Another award comes his way after a red-hot May. That's next on Fox Sports Ohio.
Award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good, it's Skyline time. Scooter Jeanette just keeps on keeping on, and last night it was a cool night. The ball wasn't flying unless it comes off the bat of one Scooter Jeanette. 11th home run of the season last night, and that leads the team. We told you that Scooter Jeanette was the reigning National League Player of the Week. He had won the award 2 out of the last 3 weeks, which means he was a primetime candidate for National League Player of the Month, and indeed, he was awarded that today. .398 average in the month of May, 6 doubles, 8 home runs, 24 RBIs, and a cool .720 slugging percentage. It was an unreal month for number 3, and I asked him about the honor.
To be able to, play well, have a good month, and to be able to be recognized for it, it's great. I'm definitely honored. There's a lot of players that, played well and could have easily won the award as well. So it's definitely an honor. But the most important thing is we're playing good baseball.
Guys, looking to close out this 3-city West Coast trip in fine fashion. A win tonight would mean a series victory. Coming up, Streaks Alive, Reds and Padres coming up on Fox Sports Ohio.
Sunny Southern California, San Diego, California, Petco Park. Great to have you with us on Fox Sports Ohio. George Grant, Chris Welch, Jim Day, and our whole crew ready for game 2 of this 3-game set. So is Jim Riggleman. Here's his starting lineup for tonight. Jose Peraza, fresh off another 3-hit game last night, will be in the leadoff spot as Riggleman continues to bounce his first couple of batters around. Scooter Jeanette, the reigning player of the month, awarded that today, bats number 2. Joey Votto had his 7-game hitting streak snapped yesterday. Eugenio Suarez hits in the cleanup spot. Adam Duvall, Scott Schebler, Kurt Casale will get his first start for the Reds for Matt Harvey. And Billy Hamilton, yep, he's okay after wrenching his neck in that 9th inning catch attempt last night's ball game against the wall. He says he's fine and ready to go, so he's in the number 9 position. That's Jim Riggleman's starting lineup. And on the mound for the San Diego Padres, a guy who will turn 23 tomorrow, from Elyria, Ohio, Chris, out of Kent State, Eric Lauer.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, this young man was just finishing up a tremendous season at Kent State. He was 10-2, had an earned run average of, get this, 0.69. that year for Kent State. That's what caused him to be the first-round draft pick of the Padres. And here, just a couple of short years later, he is in the major leagues.
There's Peraza digging in with a 5-game hitting streak. There's a breaking ball that drops in there for a strike. Lance Barksdale's your home plate umpire. Scott Barry's at first. Carlos Torres at second. Paul Nauert, the crew chief, is your umpire at third. This one blooped down the left field line, sinking. It will be caught by Jankowski. Jankowski normally is center field, moves to left, and his speed enables him to catch up with that one. It looked like another base hit for Peraza, but Travis Jankowski pulls that in near the foul line. Jankowski in left, Manuel Margot is your center fielder, and Franmil Reyes is over and right. Good defensive outfields in left and center. Christian Villanueva, Freddie Galvis, Jose Pirela, and Eric Hosmer. Hosmer, the 3-time Gold Glover, over at first, and A.J. Ellis is the catcher for Lauer this afternoon. So one away, and here's Scooter Gennett in at 341, 11 homers, 39 knocked in, and as Jim told you, he is the brand new player of the month in the National League after 2 player of the week honors during the course of the month of May. He capped it with his player of the month award, the first for him and the first for the Reds since Jay Bruce back in 2011. Chris, those numbers tell a story of a heck of a month.
Well, you're not kidding. I mean, it started out hot and probably finished even hotter. It was amazing to watch Scooter Gennett because his demeanor doesn't change. Whether he's going great or whether he's 0 for 15, you cannot tell the difference, and it's one of the best things you like about this guy.
The award, Scooter's the Cincinnati Reds Player of the Month and the National League Player of the Month. Up in Cleveland, Francisco Lindor of the Indians named the American League Player of the Month. The other awards announced today: Gleyber Torres of the Yankees named the American League Rookie of the Month. Austin Meadows of the Pirates, we got a good view of him up from AAA. He's the Rookie of the Month in the National League. Blake Trinan of the A's named the American League Reliever of the Month. Brad Hand, the closer here in San Diego, was the National League Reliever of the Month. And Max Scherzer did it again. The Nationals right-hander named the National League Pitcher of the Month. Second straight month he's been awarded that honor. And Justin Verlander of the Astros, the American League Pitcher of the Month. I guess that was a pretty good deal the Astros made for Verlander. Huh?
You think?
That's up a little high. 2 balls and 2 strikes from this left-hander. 6'3", 227. As Chris said, just a brilliant career at Kent State. He was a Golden Spikes finalist. There's a bouncer down the line, and Gennett continues to do what he's been doing for a month. This one rolls into the corner, and he'll have a 2-base hit. So Scooter's in scoring position with that 2-base hit with 1 out here in the first.
Welcome to the month of June, Scooter. I mean, he gets a pitch that's really up and out of the zone, but we've seen Scooter do this an awful lot really throughout the first couple of months of this year. Yeah, if they're close to the zone, he's finding a way to put the barrel of the bat on it.
So here's Joey. He was 0 for 2 last night. That snapped his 7-game hitting streak, but he did have 3 walks, and he's now been on base in 49 of his last 57 games. Kind of an odd time to start a game here in San Diego, so the shadows will be a factor early on. You see Votto, that sun that's down the left field line, peering right into the eyes of the hitters.
Now, this is really playoff time of the
Good.
game, because if you want to get the right timing back on the East Coast, you know, where a lot of the big markets are, and if the West Coast team, if the Padres ever make it to the playoffs, this is about the time you're going to see it. So you'll see hitters struggling early until the shadow completely covers the field and the lights take over. It's tough to see.
From the stretch, Lauer. Votto bloops this one to left. Jankowski starts back, but again his speed caught up for that. He took 2 steps back, but then quickly closed the gap and hauls it in right behind the third base line, and that's your second out of the inning.
The hardest thing to see when the light is like the way it is the spin of the baseball. I mean, you can track the baseball, and the spin is very difficult to pick up. Now, against Eric Lauer, that may not be a big deal because he doesn't really throw a lot of breaking pitches. His main 2 pitches are fastball cutter, which is really like a fastball, but it just moves into right-handers a little bit.
Here's Eugenio Suarez, 4-game hitting streak for him, and another guy that was on that finals list for player of the month for the month of May. He and Scooter each had 8 home runs. In fact, he had more runs batted in than Scooter had on the month. He had 29 of his 43 runs batted in the month of May. Scooter, big lead off second. They play Suarez straight away, no overshift. Cast a big shadow, doesn't he, at 6'3"? First time we've seen him in person, Chris, and he kind of reminds you a little bit of another local product, Jeremy Sowers. Sowers was not as big, he was smaller, but his delivery somewhat similar.
Well, he's got kind of an effortless delivery, a little bit across the body, which explains the fact that his fastball does not tail like a lot of left-handers' fastball does. It does not move away from left-handers very much. But got a nice
Big swing
easy
and a
delivery
strike.
and throws it right by Suarez there.
Now it's time for Arlo's whole team together. The highest average against left-handed pitching, Eugenio for the Reds at 417. Scooters right on that list, of course, 368, and since May the 22nd, Scooter's 8 of 12. Scott Schebler also against left-handers at the 300 mark. Suarez numbers at 417. That's second in the National League. Lauer checks the runner behind him. That's slapped the other way and out of play. This afternoon, Cardinals beat the Pirates by a final of 3-2. Washington leading Atlanta 5-3 in the 5th. Colorado leads the Dodgers 4-3 in the 6th, and the Cubs leading the Mets 1-0. That game just underway. Two balls, two strikes. Reds trying to get a lead early against this San Diego club. Padres like to score early, be ahead, because their bullpen, one of the best in all of baseball, is a shutdown bullpen. If they've got a lead and you get to the 7th or 8th, they're usually in pretty good shape. Not the kind of comeback team that you would expect to come back very often. 3-2, and there's ball 4. So a double and a walk, first and second for the Reds, and here comes Adam Duvall. Duvall, 10 homers, 32 knocked in. The number that he's still trying to get back on the highway is his batting average. He comes in at 180. And the Padres, just like the Reds, Chris, are doing somewhat of a similar thing in the outfield. They've rotated 5 different players in the outfield. The Reds basically have rotated 4. And it's an adjustment, especially for young players.
Well, it's an adjustment even if you're an old player like Adam Duvall and you were used to playing every day last year and the year before, and you're not playing every day this year.
Veteran catcher A.J. Ellis going out to talk to his lefty who's having trouble finding the strike zone.
Well, you know, he's got a nice easy delivery, but you'll see that every one of his pitches is either very straight or cuts. Now, that's not always a bad thing. I mean, he's got a very deceptive fastball. He was throwing it by a couple of hitters. That four-seamer is what he throws almost exclusively. He'll throw that up in the zone. He did show one nice breaking ball that he threw, I think, first pitch in there to Suarez.
Is Andy Green, Lexington, Kentucky native, out of the University of Kentucky, the manager here after 4 years of managing in the minor leagues and a great career at Kentucky. He's the head man here in San Diego. One ball delivery, that's up a little high, and it's 2-0.
You know, one of the stats that you always follow when nowadays on what the batting average is on balls in play. Sometimes it's a luck stat. Sometimes it means you're giving up a hard hit rate. And that's the case here with Lauer. 421 is about 125 points higher than the major league average. So when you start adding up the number of hits he gives up per inning, plus the number of walks he gives up per 9 innings, this guy is averaging exactly what he's got out here right now. 2 runners on every inning he pitches. But he's thrown some very good games. 6 innings of 1-run game against the Washington Nationals. He shut out the Dodgers over 6 innings.
So there's a lot of promise here.
Big swing, and there's strike two. That game against the Nationals, a 3-0 victory. He did not pitch well his last time out, only went 2 1/3 against Miami. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Adam Duvall. Ellis rolls through his signs a second time. From the stretch is Lauer. On the outside corner, he threads the needle, a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. So the Reds strand a pair in the first. Took them 23 pitches to get out of it. Here comes Matt Harvey. Starting lineup for the San Diego Padres club that comes in 25-34, 6 games back in the West. Travis Jankowski in the leadoff spot. Eric Hosmer bats number 2. He's been hitting over 400 on the homestand. Jose Pirela still looking for his first homer of the year, hits third. Christian Villanueva, 15 big home runs for the big swinging third baseman. Franmil Reyes will hit behind him. Freddie Galvis, A.J. Ellis, Margot, and Lauer. That's 1 through 9, your Padres lineup. Here's big number 32, Matt Harvey, Chris.
Now looking forward to getting the baseball outside of the mile-high altitude is Matt Harvey. That was where he made his last start. And he's got pretty good command. I mean, look at the number of innings that he's pitched. He's only walked 4. And that's the first thing that you notice when a guy comes back from an injury is how well can he control the strike zone. And Harvey's not throwing like he used to. I mean, he used to have explosive stuff. High 90s, almost 100 miles per hour, nasty slider.
A high throw, and Casale will not get the runner at first. The speedy Jankowski will bunt his way on.
Well, he threw it, and the timing was perfect for the runner Jankowski because Botto had to go up, and by the time he came down, Jankowski, who runs well down the line, gets on the bag and past it. So an error on the catcher leads off the bottom of the first.
Casale's first start as a Red, he was just picked up from the Tampa Bay Rays. He was at AAA with Tampa Bay, spent the last 4 years with Tampa Bay, up and down from the minors to the majors. Jankowski stole an 8. So he's always a threat to run. And here's Hosmer, who's been red hot. There goes Jankowski. Here comes your throw. It will not be in time. A stolen base.
Never really gave Casale a chance right there. Jankowski had a big lead, went on the first move that Matt Harvey made, and just like that, the Padres have a runner in scoring position.
He had almost a 4-step break before the pitch was delivered.
Yeah, it's funny because he had a very short lead. I said he had a big lead. He didn't really have a big lead. And maybe that's what kind of set Matt Harvey a little bit at ease, thinking, well, there's no reason to pay attention to him if he's only off the bag by a little bit.
So Jankowski's in scoring position. Still nobody out here in the first. Ball 1 to Hosmer. Look out. He does it again. Second time he's thrown his bat the last 2 nights. This one behind home plate.
Better get a little bit more of that Manny Mota stick him going. That's what's in that tube that he's rubbing on that. Manny Mota, longtime player and coach for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I don't know if he owns that company or not anymore, but just about every big league, minor league team has a tube of it. Every pitcher ought to have some too.
You did.
Boy, wait a minute now. I'm not admitting that. It's good stuff. Let me just say that.
You still have one hidden away somewhere in the basement,
I put it in my carry-on still.
That's that sticky stuff when I reached in there, huh? 1 ball, 1 strike to Hosmer. Had an even 400 on his homestand. Right down the middle for a strike at 93 miles an hour.
I think both teams are having a hard time seeing the ball right now. Hosmer wanted to pull the trigger, and he probably just didn't see it coming out of his hand.
Harvey's 5th appearance for the Reds, his 8th appearance against San Diego. It's his 4th start at Petco Park in his career. 1 ball, 2 strikes from the stretch. The big right-hander delivers, and it's fouled off 1-2.
Harvey likes to go with the fastball first time through the lineup, and a lot of veteran pitchers like to do that. They want to save something for later on. He shook off a couple of times from Casale to try to get back to that heater. Of course, now that he's thrown a couple of those in a row, it might be a time to snap off a little slider action.
Head to count, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Jankowski short lead with Peraza right behind him at second base. Swing and a miss, and there is the strikeout pitch at strikeout number 1, out number 1 here in the first inning.
It's a really good carve-up job right there by Harvey. I mean, he throws a really good fastball after fastball, and same arm slot. The ball on his slider goes straight down, and that's what you get when you get a high arm angle and fingers on top of the baseball. That's a very typical mix right there. 60% fastball, 20 slider, 13 change, and occasional curveball.
That goes all the way to the backstop, and Jankowski will go to third.
Well, what Hosmer couldn't do, Harvey can. Get the runner to third.
Trying to backhand it is Casale. It zips by him to the backstop, and it'll be a wild pitch charged to Harvey. So a stolen base and a wild pitch sends Jankowski all the way to third, and the Reds with 1 out will keep the infield back. Votto will be even with the bag, way wide of first. This one will get the run in. At the warning track, will haul it in as Billy Hamilton. But the sacrifice fly by Jose Pirela plates his 18th run of the year, and the Padres have a 1-0 lead. Check that forward defensive alignment for the Reds. You see Billy out in center. Your left fielder Adam Duvall. Scott Schebler's over and right. Schebler came up with a brilliant twisting catch last night to save a couple of runs. Suarez, Peraza, Scooter, and Joey Votto across the infield, and Casale behind the plate. And good to see Billy back. After the game last night, people wondered if, after crashing into the wall, his neck and his shoulder would be okay. He was bouncing around in the clubhouse this morning, ready to go, and he's in the lineup. If you missed it last night, Chris, it was a scary moment as Galvis hits this one to the wall. Billy has it bounce off his glove, then the wall. 2 runs scored in the 9th inning. But watch the concussion as you see the crash into the wall. First hit his shoulder, then his neck. It was more his neck than anything else that was bothering him. But took treatment last night with Steve Bauman and the trainer's crew. And he's back in there today. Tell you, you stand next to him, Chris, he is slight of weight, but he's wiry, and boy, he's bounced off the wall, bounced off the turf, and he keeps coming back.
it's amazing how hard he plays and how reckless he can be around the outfield fence. I mean, if you're going to make the dramatic catches, that's the attitude that you have to have. And he's made some terrific catches over the last few years. And that's what he excels at. I think he'd rather, you know, save a run with his glove than score one with his legs.
Villanueva, full count. The Padre third baseman sitting on 15 home runs on the season. He's been a big surprise addition, this native of Mexico. High fly ball down the third base line. Duval over. Will he have room? He won't. It'll be about 3 feet into the seats. And he'll toss the carom back to the fans. The 15 home runs from Villanueva is second in the National League. Bryce Harper only has more now with 18. Slapped the other way and out of play. And another slap the other way and into the seats. For Harvey, somewhat ironic, since coming over to the Reds, this will be his 5th appearance, and 4 of the 5 appearances have been against teams in the Western Division. First start was against the Dodgers, at Los Angeles, then at San Francisco. Faced Pittsburgh at home and then at Colorado. This one blooped to the right side. Votto's got it measured. Joey has it, but stolen base and a wild pitch and a sacrifice fly, and the Padres lead it 1-0. Serious injuries. Record against National League West teams so far this year, the Reds are 8-6. It has not been often when the Reds have been over 500 against Western Division teams. Last winning season against the National League West was 2012. In fact, against the Padres are 20-13 against the Reds since that 2012 year. That's their best record against any team. Galvis stays on the left side. Everybody else moves to the right side on the overshift for Schebler. This one blooped into left again. Jankowski there. Padres really have 3 center fielders. Jankowski, Margot, and Franchi Cordero. Cordero's on the disabled list right now. So Jankowski and Cordero, in Andy Green's scheme of things, are the ones that have to adjust and play at each corner. Margot is an outstanding defender in center field. And Renfro probably has the best arm of all of them, who's on the bench tonight. And we told you last night the story of Will Myers, who started in the outfield, then they moved him to first. And now with Hosmer in town, he's back in the outfield. So there you have the 5 guys that they're trying to find at bats for in the outfield. Here's Kurt Casale, his first at bat as a Red. Missing on the corner, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Career average just around the 200 mark. He's bounced back and forth over the last 4 years with the Tampa Bay organization. Jared Sandberg, his manager at Durham, called him in 2 days ago saying, I'm pulling you from the starting lineup. I don't like the way you've been taking batting practice. And he kind of locked him up. And then he smiled and said, you're going to the major leagues. We've traded you to the Reds. This one hit pretty good down the left field line. It's going to be gone. Kurt Casale in his first at bat as a Red. He may have made an error in the first, but he makes up for that with a bullet to left into the Western Metal Supply Company building, and the Reds have tied this one at 1. That's the way to turn it around, huh, Chris?
Boy, how about that for Kurt Casale? He probably was thinking to himself, things could not have gotten off to a worse start. First ball, he gets a handle, he throws high for an error. He has a runner, the first runner that gets on base by his error ends up stealing second base. But he takes care of that with a fastball on the inner part of the plate, a quick bat on the pitch up. And the Reds have evened this baby up.
Feels a little bit better after that swing, and we're tied at 1. Here's Harvey, the pitcher. Matt 2 for 15 on the year. Another look. This one not where A.J. Ellis wanted it, and right where Casale wanted it. A rocket shot into the first level of the Western Metal Supply Company building. Welcome to Cincinnati, number 38. Right down the middle for a strike. That's out number 2, and strikeout number 2 for Lauer. That'll bring up Billy Hamilton. Showing bunt, and it hits his leg. He's going to be out. It hit his leg outside the batter's box. If he's in the batter's box, it's a foul ball. This one, he's so fast, he beat the ball to the ground. So Billy's out, but the Reds are back in it on a home run by Casale. We're tied at 1. He's a wonderful thing, but in some cases it's a detriment. Billy's so fast he gets this down. One hop and then he's out of the batter's box. It hits both his bat and his leg out of the batter's box, so he's retired, Chris. And he's back in center field.
Of course, once you hit the ball and leave the batter's box, you go from being a batter to a batter runner. And if you're hit by a fairly batted ball, you are out before it goes past the fielder.
Is this going to be a Rules Academy
It's pretty
highlight
basic,
for tomorrow?
George. I think when we run out of the tough rules, we'll start covering the basic ones.
You had some great ones this year. It's been, you know, for the first couple of months of the season, there've been a lot of strange and sometimes unique plays, huh?
We had a play the other night in Los Angeles where the catcher missed the tag at home and the batter missed the plate. And it was never actually asked for a review or anything because the umpire waved them safe. Normally in a case like that, the umpire makes no call at all.
Now, I went online and I saw your report. That is a reviewable opportunity for the Dodgers, isn't it?
But when you see the umpire make the safe call, you're somewhat discouraged from it because you think, well, he beat the throw. But none of the eyes who made the call, the umpire was obviously thinking, was he safe or out? He's watching the tag and did not see the runner go over the home plate area.
Full count, a bullet up the middle from Framil Reyes, and the leadoff hitter on here in the second. It's Harvey and Casale, the battery for tonight. JD, you're down by the dugout. Not the first time these two guys have been together.
No, they're both from Connecticut, and actually the summer before their senior years in high school, Casale caught Harvey a couple of times on a Summer League All-Star team. Now, we're seeing the man Harvey after a few major arm problems and surgeries. Imagine a 17-year-old Matt Harvey, very fresh-armed. Casale said it's the most electric thing he'd ever seen.
I mean, basically throwing nearly 100 miles an hour. I mean, when he was a young pitcher before he was injured, in fact, that was about the time, but just a year later, he left his home in Connecticut to come play summer baseball for the Midland Redskins in Cincinnati.
That's a dribbler by Galvis into right. It'll go as a base hit. So the first two batters on here in the second.
Well, that was a changeup. The first pitch was a fastball leveled on by Reyes. Galvis is the one that hit that ball last night that Scott Schebler went back and caught near the warning track in that acrobatic circus-like catch. And he pulls the ball again here on an off-speed pitch.
So Harvey, as the first two reach here in the second, the Reds will be a double play depth. They've turned 52 double plays this year with love one right here as A.J. Ellis steps in. Good start for him offensively at 300 with a homer and 7 knocked in. Back to Harvey. His dad is legendary as a coach in the state of Connecticut and in amateur baseball. He's been a baseball coach at Avery Point and Groton, the University of Connecticut branch. And while you may have read stories about what transpired in New York, believe me, the people in southeastern Connecticut will stand by this young man. He's done so much in the community. His dad is so well liked. And Chris, everybody grows up at a different pace. And being in the middle of New York and what you're going through there, sometimes you do make some mistakes, and he admits he did make some mistakes.
Well, we talked to a lot of the people from the Mets when they came through town, George, and that was the one thing that they were all in agreement about, that the off-the-field stuff about Harvey were completely overblown, as they are so many times in the New York papers. I mean, you're looking for ways to make headlines there if you're a reporter or an editor.
That's New York, right?
And yeah, and they did it a lot of times at his expense.
2 balls, 1 strike to Ellis. Reds hoping for a ground ball to turn 2. That's wide.
Now you got to come right after these guys here. You're looking at 7, 8, 9 in a batting order.
So 3-1 to the big catcher for the Padres. Base hit by Reyes and a base hit by Galvis puts both of them on. Margot on deck in the number 8 spot for the Padres. From the stretch, Harvey. There's ball 4. 2 base hits and a walk. First walk allowed by Harvey, and the bases are loaded. And that'll bring up Margot. Margot's been money in the bank for this club, while Hosmer's been red hot of late. Margot is the best hitter on this club with runners in scoring position. He's at .345 coming into tonight. Budding star in center field for this Padres club. Reds will stay back in the middle of the infield looking for 2. Margot, good speed, so not easy to turn. That's down the middle for a strike at 88. On the inside corner at 93 for a strike, and it's 0-2. Padres were saying today in the clubhouse they were so impressed with Malley last night. Every time the Padres would get a runner on, Malley came up with his best pitch of the night. There's a liner to right field. It'll drop for a base hit. 1 run scores. Here comes Galvis. 2 runs will score. And the Padres have retaken the lead 3-1 on the Margot double to right.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with the Padres' approach at the plate the last couple of nights. The first 4 hits they had last night, opposite field. Same thing goes right here. I mean, that may not be the prettiest swing, but boy, is it effective. And you've got bases loaded, and you get a fastball, and you just kind of stay back and line it the other way like that. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. He continues to rake with runners in scoring position.
And with the bases loaded for his career, he's now 5 for 7 with 12 runs batted in with the bases loaded. So now 2nd and 3rd. Still nobody out in the inning. And here comes the pitcher Lauer. At third, Suarez 2 steps in front of the bag. Halfway, both second and short, and Votto wide of the bag at first. That's a strike. 1-1.
You don't see many of these guys, do you, George? Throws left and bats right.
Ricky Henderson.
When you do that, you're destined to be a pitcher.
Yeah. This one blooped to right over is Schebler, the runner tagging at third. Schebler's throw will be going to third, and a sacrifice fly by Lauer. How about that? He got the bat on the ball, helps his own cause, and the Padres lead it 4-1. Three hits, a walk, and a sacrifice fly. Still no one out here in the second. Harvey steps back off the mound, trying to collect himself and find an out. Now the Reds, with just a runner at third, will bring the infield in with Jankowski, who reached on the error in the first. That's a liner in the right. That'll get another run in. Jankowski picks up his 4th run batted in of the year. And the Padres pick up their 5th run of the night and lead it 5-1.
Yeah, we were talking about damage control in the open, George. I could not have been more wrong the way I sized up this game ahead of time, thinking that you get a veteran like Matt Harvey, he gets into trouble, especially when he gets down to the bottom of the order. You figure he would figure out a way to kind of keep things under control. That's not happened. The walk to A.J. Ellis after the first 2 reads is really the killer in this one. Then Margot hits it the other way. Jankowski plates the last runner on base, and they have put a 4 spot up. And now you get into the big part of the lineup that has some guys that can really wield that lumber.
Here's Hosmer, struck out first time up.
You know, when guys are squaring it up the way they have been against Matt Harvey tonight, the way they did against Harvey in Denver, I mean, it shows me that you're throwing the ball exactly as hard as you appear to be throwing the ball. That's never a good thing.
One ball to Hosmer. Big swing, 1-1. Funny you mentioned that in talking to Michael Lorenzen today. And you mentioned it last night, Chris, that it seemed like he was throwing effortlessly, as smooth as we've ever seen him throw the baseball. And he said, it felt so easy last night. I'd had to turn around and look at the board to see. I thought I was throwing about 90, and I was hitting 95. That's when you know you got it going right.
Well, he does have it going right, and I think that he's done a lot of things with his delivery to kind of back off his effort level, but he still has the arm speed, if that makes sense. He's not jumping at the plate and recoiling.
Bounce down to Votto. He'll get one at second to throw to first, not in time. He had a momentary decision. Does he give up on the runner going to second and try to get the runner at first? He went to second, and we're waiting to see if the Padres will challenge this.
Well, Jankowski doesn't slide right here, and if he is out and they called him out, I don't think there's going to ask for a review. That's an embarrassing thing. They're going to continue to let it play and probably scold him for not hitting the ground. The other thing you can do as a runner right there is begin to run right at the fielder on the inside part of the baseline, if you want to call it that, and make it much more difficult for especially a right-handed throwing first baseman to get that ball to the shortstop. Jankowski did not do that.
Great job by Votto to get the lead runner. So now 2 outs, and here's a fly ball down the right field line and out of play off the bat of Jose Pirela. Pirella's sacrifice fly in the first plated a run to give the Padres an early 1-0 lead. He hasn't had a home run since the first week of September last year. And people are wondering, where did the power go? And his new hitting coach, Matt Stairs, who's here after being in Philadelphia last year, keeps telling him, don't worry about the home runs. Just keep driving in runs. And he's now got 18 RBI after the sacrifice fly in the first. Great to see Matt Stairs resurface again. We had and I
good
spent
guy,
some time
works
with him
hard.
yesterday.
Long way from Canada.
Yeah, still coaches hockey in the offseason. Hey, he invented the launch angle before anybody else. That uppercut swing.
He and Phil Plantier.
Yep. No balls, 2 strikes, pop back and out of play. Of course, the Reds have the all-time pinch hit leader in Major League Baseball, Lenny Harris, who still works in the Reds organization. And the all-time pinch hit home run leaders right there. Matt Stairs, 23 of them in his career. Short lead down at first for Hosmer. Fouled off at the plate. And the home run story in Canada. Larry Walker is the all-time home run leader. Matt Stairs is number 2 on that list. And Joey Votto's only 2 behind him. So soon Votto will pass Stairs. Slap foul down the right field line, out of play. Eighth batter of the inning, Pirela to the plate. Villanueva is on deck. This rip to left, overs Adam, and he got it. Hit right on the button, but Duvall saved what might have been another run. Hosmer was running. He's retired, but the Padres lead it 5-1. through the 10th at Great American Ballpark, Saturday, June 9th. Be one of the first 20,000 fans through the gates to receive a Scooter Gennett bobblehead presented by Dynergy Energy Services. See your Reds take on the Cardinals for as low as $12. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Back to work go the Reds. Up for the second time as Jose Peraza lined out in the first. Reds trail at 1-0. Kirk Casale's homer, the lone marker that the Reds have on the board. 5 runs, 4 hits, no errors for the Padres. A run, 2 hits, and an error for Cincinnati. So Lauer's staked to a 4-run lead as we head to the top of the third. And we told you about, of course, he went to Kent State. College baseball continues to roll through the NCAA regionals. That's a call, strike 3 to Peraza. First out of the third inning. Kent State came back to win today to eliminate New Mexico State, a 2-1 victory. Rough day for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They went extra innings before succumbing to UNCW 4-3 in 13 innings. They lost yesterday and eliminated today. Louisville won their first game yesterday. They will not play till later on. All the elimination games are this afternoon, and weather's certainly been a factor, especially back east. Popped down the third base line, and the corner is Jankowski, and he'll haul it in fair territory, and Scooter's retired, 2 away.
I think really what you're looking at here, George, is a 22-year-old left-handed pitcher with a lot of life on his fastball. I mean, it's coming out of his hand with the different look than what he appears to be throwing. What he's actually throwing is different, and that's why he's getting in on hitters. He's throwing it by hitters. Nice, easy delivery. Not a lot of movement, but you know, the combination of fastball, cutter, occasional slow curve has been a good one. There's the curveball.
And there's a hit from Joey Votto. Votto's first hit of the series, a base hit into center field. Now it's funny what you see in the swing by Votto. As usual, he hangs in there against this lefty. What you see from Lauer is what you do not see coming off the deliveries of Homer Bailey or of Matt Harvey. Well, that little extra giddy up on their fastball, how much of that has to do with coming back from those injuries?
Well, it has something to do with injury. It has something to do with the youth of a young man that's 22. I mean, when Harvey was 22 and Bailey was 22, they were both throwing like this guy. Nice, easy delivery. But when you don't have that extra life is when you have to be extra careful with your location. And eventually, in order to survive, you've got to, be able to place your breaking ball better than the other guy, and maybe manufacture some movement. I mean, great point last night. You're talking about the Padres complimenting Tyler Mahle. That's what his fastball's like. I mean, even though he doesn't light up the radar gun, it's got an extra gear on it when it gets halfway to the plate. All you have to do is stand behind the catcher and watch him warm up and see that.
In the dirt, nice block by Ellis.
That's where scouts come in, and I know that every team, including the Reds, have convened their scouts. If not all of them, most of them are in the hometown now, making decisions, looking at video, making the pick list on the board, arguing one guy over another. But you've got to be able to trust your eyeballs.
3-0 to Suarez, and they'll throw over. They got Votto leaning, and they picked him off.
Where's he going?
Well, an error in the first led to a run for the Reds defensively. An error mentally here eliminates the runner. Padres lead 5-1. No surprise here. The Padres lead Major League Baseball with 11 pickoffs. Here's number 11, Chris.
I mean, in the days of scouting nowadays, that shouldn't happen. I mean, you've got so much video on these guys. You have advanced scouts. You have a team of interns underneath the stadium reviewing video, and it ought to be relayed to your runners that this guy's got a good move. I mean, Votto's not going anywhere. The Reds are down by 4 runs. He's not a base stealer. That's a good move by Lauer. I got to hand him something. I mean, picked him clean.
To Hopper down at third. Didn't even take 17 throws over there either,
well,
did it?
You know you have a good move as a left-handed pitcher when you pick a guy off who is not even attempting to steal. Reds base running on this trip has been abysmal. And that's one of the real hot buttons for Jim Riggleman. I mean, that's the one thing that he mentioned when he first took over this ball club, that he wanted to right the ship, which is the way the Reds are running the bases.
And I think obviously, you know, we've talked a lot about the difficulties with starting pitching, but the 2 disappointing areas, there's Danny Darwin back with the Reds after his grandson's graduation, rejoined the team today. But there have been defensive lapses with this club that we haven't seen the last couple of years. And base running too. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's looped into left, a base hit. Reyes has his second hit. A solid single to center, and now this single to right. Hey, Reds fans, don't miss Marvel Superhero Night at the ballpark. Purchase the Marvel Superhero ticket package, take home an exclusive Captain America bobblehead. Hurry though, limited quantities of this collectible bobblehead are available. Purchase today at reds.com/themes. Note the Marvel bobblehead is only available with purchase of this ticket. Which probably means that Jesse Jackson's going to have a harder time to get his hands on all those things back home, huh? I guarantee you that Brian Giesenslaw and Jeff Pecoro will be lining up trying to scout those out. They'll be filling us in from our studios coming up a little bit later on here on Fox Sports Ohio.
Hey, got to give a shout out, George. One of our big Reds fans is a fireman who's laid up in the hospital right now. And Kenny, I hope you're feeling well. He's a member of the Little Miami Joint Fire and Rescue District. I've been over there for lunch a couple of times, Kenny Cole, and wish you and all the guys down there in that Fairfax station the best.
By the way, we want to send our get well wishes to Padres broadcaster Ted Leitner too. He's had some health issues, away from the club for about a month. He's hopeful of getting back though after about a month. We understand things are getting better for him, and Teddy's been here a long time. I wish him the best. 3 balls, 1 strike to Galvis. Slap the other way and out of play. And word starts to travel, Chris. You look at, you know, we talked about the Padres leading all of Major League Baseball with 11 pickoffs. Lauer has 5 of those. You know, just like when Andy Pettitte came up, you know, your rookie year, you don't really know. But now with scouting and everything else, the word travels pretty fast.
Well, he's got a good move, and really what he did in that move, I like to see it a couple of times, but he gets his foot down quick. I mean, he really sells it like he's going to the plate, and then the key is he gets that right foot down quickly and delivers the ball to first base.
Very often you'll see left-handers that are short and diminutive have great moves. Not very many big ones. Here goes the runner on the 3-2 delivery. Jeanette has it, and they get the runner at first, but on sending the runner, Reyes, they avoid a potential double play or getting the lead runner. So there's 2 away and a runner sitting at second. I mean, Andy Pettitte was a big guy. This kid's a big guy, but you know, I don't know about you, but Bob McClure had a great move. Tom House had a great move as small lefties.
But those guys worked at it, and I've always wondered why left-handed pitchers, when they've got all that downtime and all they're doing is shagging balls, I mean, they get their bullpen session in between starts. Why aren't they working on their move every other day of the week? I mean, it's something that it doesn't wear your arm out. I mean, these are the little things that can help you move up the ladder. If you get one pick off every 2 games, that's an extra out. I mean, he didn't show up, in the hospital after he was born with a good move to first base. I guarantee you somebody taught him that move and he worked on it.
His mom, Carol, I don't think taught him that. Almost bobbled by Peraza, but he gets his glove on it, throws out the runner at first. Reds still trailing this one 5-1.
And manager were presented with challenge coins. They were done so by Command Master Chief James Karosky, and he heads up the USS Cincinnati, which was recently christened in Mobile, Alabama. There you see the coin right there, a very cool looking coin. And the USS Cincinnati will be commissioned in San Diego next year. And here's a group photo right here. And they were presented with those challenge coins today. Of course, the USS Cincinnati, named obviously after the city of Cincinnati. So very cool moment before the game.
Always got something good for us, JD. In other trips here, I remember you going out, and of course the great naval installations here. Chris, when you played here, I mean, on Military Appreciation Day on the Sundays when everybody would come to old Jack Murphy Stadium. This is certainly a city, JD, where you get a sense of how important our military is in the scheme of things, isn't it?
Well, no doubt about it. And some of those military days here at Petco Park, the entire upper deck in right field was just filled with military members. And some of my favorite interviews are going up there, and we found some young men and women that were from Reds country that were here in San Diego, and you certainly get a sense of it here in San Diego, how big the military is, and rightly so.
Full count 3-2 to Eugenio Suarez, who worked full time, walked his first time up. Those military appreciation days, Chris, started when you were with the Padres back in the 80s.
Well, they would bring them in, George. Of course, you have Camp Pendleton is just right up the road here north between San Diego and Los Angeles, a big Marine base, and and the Navy headquarters down here right in San Diego.
Into left field, Jankowski back, and he'll glove it at the warning track. Suarez retired first out of the 4th. The ships that are here, there's the USS Midway.
That's a great tour.
It is pretty special. Saw you and Beth walking around in the harbor area this morning. What a great place to take a long walk, huh?
Yeah. Of course, the Navy SEAL training headquarters is right over there near the Navy base. Had a chance a couple of years ago to tour that and go through that and talk to some of the instructors, and boy, was that a fascinating and really eye-opening tour through that facility. What those men go through to become finally Navy SEALs is exceptional.
Foul back by Adam Duvall, 0-2.
And we thank them for their dedication and their service. I mean, not just the Navy SEALs, but everybody in every different part of the service.
I remember back in the days at Jack Murphy when we would be here, we very seldom did afternoon games, and just going into the stands and sitting with some of those guys, pretty special, and girls, pretty special. I think it was so much a part when you played here. It was so much a part of the essence of what San Diego baseball was too, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Duvall struck out looking first time up. That's a little wide. Adam knows what Kurt Casale is feeling, because Casale's first at bat as a Red was a homer. Same thing for Adam Duvall. His first at bat as a Red back in 2015. A home run. And remember the home run he got off Mike Leake, the guy he was traded for. 2-2. Hit hard to Hopper down to short. Galvis, who's smooth, takes care of it for the second out.
Rare ground, really a rare ground ball there off of a pitch from Eric Lauer. He's a fly ball pitcher. There's no question about it. I mean, early in his career, maybe it's a short sample size, but he's a guy that gets the ball up in the zone. I think other than the bunt by Billy Hamilton, which he ran into, that's the only ground ball out that he has recorded in the first 3 2/3 innings. Everything else is either a strikeout or a fly ball.
There's Shebler, flying to left first time up. The Padres still overshift on Shebler, but you know, after showing bunt yesterday, they've changed that shift. Freddie Galvis, the shortstop, is the lone defender on the left side, and he beats the shift with that shot. In fact, if he was stationed where he was last night, that would have been right at him. But I think he was influenced by the bunt effort by Shebler yesterday, so he's closer to third. This would have been right to him where he was yesterday.
Well, they want to get that defender on that left side of the infield in there far enough just to discourage the bunt. You don't want to give him up an automatic base if a batter is willing to do so. And Shebler tried to bunt last time, remember, but he bunted a ball that was way up and in and ended up, I think, fouling it off.
There's Casale, whose home run put the Reds on the board in the second. His first home run as a Red, the 20th career home run for him. Another look at his big swing, Chris.
Pitch up. He's a strong guy. Big guy, Casale is. Well-spoken young man. Grew up in Connecticut. Did his college work at Vanderbilt.
In fact, his brother's at Vanderbilt now, not playing baseball, but he's the manager of the baseball team. There's the story we just told you about Adam Duvall and his home run. So they both on the same list. Reds trying to chip away, trailing by 4-5-1.
Evidently, Casale was one heck of a football player. Quarterback of a team that went to the state championship. In fact, he led his team to the state championship. He was a first-team all-state football and baseball player.
Legendary athlete at Midview High School and also at Kent State.
Well, now you're talking about Lauer. I'm talking about Casale.
Oh, that's been Lauer.
So both these guys were something big in high school. obviously.
You're right, Casale, big, strong kid, boy. He's got more than one move, doesn't he? That's a different move than the pickoff move. You got Votto with a different move. That was kind of a sidearm low angle throw. 3 balls, 1 strike. Casale digs in. Lauer to the stretch. Breaking ball misses for ball 4. So the Reds have 2 on, but that'll bring up the pitcher, Matt Harvey.
You know, the move that he has going to first base, George, kind of interesting. He comes out of a really nice baseball program, Kent State. You know, they've been to the College World Series once or twice over the last 5 or 6 years, and they've had a good program up there. But what you see in college are college coaches that are like a lot of coaches, and they're really dedicated to the little parts of the game. And I think you get a little bit more of a polished player with this type of thing out of a college kid than you get out of a high school kid that signs when he's 18, and when he shows up at 22 in the major leagues, he doesn't have all these kind of moves because you don't work on those things in the minor leagues. The minor leagues are normally, you know, let's get your pitch counts in, let's get your fastball going, let's, you know, become a pitcher, but they don't do the little things they do in a lot of, you know, big time college programs.
Adam Simber's up and loosening in the bullpen. We don't know if maybe Lauer had said something to Andy Green and Doug Bochler, the pitching coach, in between innings. Bochler just came out to check on him. But they've got action up in the bullpen, and he's, I mean, only in the 60s in his pitch count here. Now up to number 70. No balls, 2 strikes to Harvey. Harvey just trying to find a way to get Hamilton to the plate here. He holds on it for a ball. There's the tall, lanky right-hander Simber in the bullpen. Slapped the other way and out of play. For the game around the batting cage today, Andy Lauer set to go tonight. The manager for the Padres saying, you know, these are 2 teams pretty similar. We're trying to speed up the learning process for our young pitchers at the major league level. Not easy to do. Nice catch in the stands behind home plate on that foul ball. The Padres have openly said that they expect to be contenders next year. I don't know if they're on that track so far, but they're hopeful of getting to that point. Swing and a miss, and that'll do it. The Reds will strand 2. They've stranded 4 and trail it 5-1.
by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. That was a big day in the Queen City today. It was the annual College Advantage Red Legs Run, the 17th annual. More than 3,100 runners and walkers participated in the event today. And the best news, they raised $127,000. All proceeds going to the Reds Community Fund. The female and the male winners in the 5K and the 10K will be invited to throw out ceremonial first pitches later this month at Great American Ballpark. Congratulations to all involved.
Funny you mentioned that, JD, because before the game today, some of the front office people from the Padres were down around the batting cage. The Padres front office people are doing the same thing the Reds and Chris Buckley's crew are doing, getting ready for the draft on Monday, but they were remarking about what they're trying to do with their community fund here, and very clearly they respect what the Reds do. And Chris, we've seen what Charlie Frank has been able to do. I mean, he's taken the Reds from the dark ages. He and the Castellini ownership team, the Reds community fund has just been spectacular in the way they've embraced the community and done some special things. Margot grounds out, one away.
Well, they have, George. I mean, they set the bar really for every other major league outfit out there to try to match what, not just Charlie Frank. I mean, he's been the general that's kind of operating the whole, but he's got so many people that are working with him. They're reaching into the community. He's got great community support. They've got the support of Procter & Gamble on some big projects. It's really great to watch.
There's Lauer, who helped himself with a sacrifice fly and a run batted in back in the second. One away, second batter up here in the fourth, with the Padres leading 5-1. And about that draft, it'll come on Monday. The Reds have an off day on Monday after tomorrow's game. The Reds will select 5th overall in the first-year player draft, then 47th and 72nd, then 82nd and 109th. Those are their first picks in the draft. They'll pick as the 5th team picking. The Padres are 2 behind the Reds. Swing and a miss, and Lauer is disposed of. That's a strikeout for Harvey. Strikeout number 2 for Matt Harvey. So Chris Buckley's crew, they're all huddled just like they are here in San Diego, and by now they've pretty much got their board set, you're sure. And everybody points to that first-round pick. You know, is it a Matt Harvey type? Is it a Lauer type? He was a first-round pick of this Padres team out of Kent State. I never forget talking to Art Stewart, who for so many years was an integral part of the Kansas City organization. Asked him one day after the draft, how'd you do in the draft yesterday? He says, come back in 5 years and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And isn't that the truth?
Sure is.
And it's not just that first pick. It's the, you know, you just left, you played the Giants on the last road trip. I mean, they got Posey and Crawford on the 4th and 5th rounds. So it's not your first round pick always. Sometimes the impact players will come much deeper in the draft. And that's what the Reds are hoping for once again tomorrow. From everything we've heard, Chris, it appears that this is a draft that is pointed very high at the top of it with college pitchers, as opposed to last year with many high school players. Backhanded by Scooter. They'll get it to first, and there's your 1-2-3. That's a breakdown inning for Matt Harvey, a 1-2-3 fourth. Lite. Look forward to the whole true moment later in today's game from Miller Lite. That draft coming up on Monday. Casey Mize, the right-hander out of Auburn. Brady Singer, the right-hander out of Florida. Two of the top college pitchers that are on the board, Chris. And I think it's with, you look at the Reds where they are now, drafting a high school pitcher last year, Hunter Green. You almost expect the Reds at the top end of the draft to go for, if they go for pitching, it would be a college pitcher this time around, not a high school pitcher.
I don't know that for sure, George. I mean, the year before last, they took Nick Senzel, out of University of Tennessee, college player. So I imagine there's a lot of soul searching. There's a lot of conversation back and forth. There may even be some arguing about, my guy is better than your guy. I've never been in the draft war room before it's happened. I can only imagine. I've talked to a lot of people that have been in those things, and there's not a perfect science. It takes a little bit of luck. It takes a lot of skill, and you hope that the guys that you get stay healthy. And I think in the long run, that's the bottom line on a lot of things. And you hope that once you turn them over to the development department, that they're able to project one way and then turn into reality the same way. A lot of prospects just never get there.
Billy Hamilton grounds out. Here's Peraza, who's 0 for 2. And it's really not a one-step process. It's a three-step process. Starts with scouting, and that means the eye test, but it also means the analytic test in this day and age. Then comes the drafting. And equally important is development. Once you get the players, you can pick the right player, but your development people at the low minor league level and all the way through don't develop those people. So if all three aren't in concert, and the good organizations over the long period of time do that, they scout well, they draft well, they develop well, and hopefully you can keep some of those players. And when you're in a smaller market, it becomes so much more critical that you've got to do all three of those things. Peraza sends this one to left center. Looking back is Jankowski, but it'll be one hop over his head and over the wall for a double for Peraza. So Jose continues his hot hitting. 3 hits last night. His first hit for tonight. That's now a 6-game hitting streak for Peraza.
Well, he is just making toast out of these Padre outfielders here tonight. They like burn defensive backs here as they play very shallow on him, and he just fires it right over their heads.
And a Red fan haul that in those outfield areas. So a 1-out double, and here's Scooter. He doubled his first time up and flied to left. Not only is it important that you accomplish in all three of those areas success, but all three of those areas have to work together. You got to be on the same team.
Oh, there's no question about it. No question at all. They have to be on the same page and cooperative, and not finger point when something goes wrong. Hey, he threw 95 when I signed him. What happened, right?
Strike one to Scooter.
I think one of the most underappreciated things is the dedication that the low-level scouts have to their profession. Because I go to a lot of amateur games, not as many as I'd like to go to, but there are always scouts there. And these guys are driving hundreds of miles in regular Toyotas and beat up cars with 100,000 miles on them, and are staying in cheap hotels, and they're getting there early, and the weather up north to watch these high school and college baseball games are 38 degrees, back in February and March, and they're trying to uncover that diamond in the rough. And it's a tough gig. It really is. It's so tough. It keeps them away from their family. They're around baseball. But it's something that if you love and it gets in your blood, it's hard to give up.
They're the heart and soul of the game.
Absolutely right.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Scooter. It's interesting too. Where do you think scouts are more important? Like in the Midwest or the North, where you don't have many games? Some high school teams are only 12, 13, 14 games, or in Florida and Texas and California, where you've got more games and more players to look at too.
Well, I think the good scouts have developed a network of coaches that they can depend on. So they call a high school coach and they say, "Who you got for me this year?" And if the coach is good, he'll say, "He'll give him the truth."
Bouncer to short. Galvis has it alertly. Peraza goes to third on the slow 2-hopper to short. So a runner at third, 2 outs.
I mean, the truth may be, I really don't have anybody this year. You know, I got a couple of guys that might be, 30th round draft picks, but I don't have any impact players. So go on down the road and scout somebody else. I mean, look at Joey Votto. I mean, how do you find Joey Votto in the outskirts of Ontario? Somebody had to be on the ball. 2nd round draft pick, I believe.
Here's Joey. Singled his last time up, runner on third with 2 outs.
By the way, Lauer is the first player from that 2016 draft to make the major leagues. There was some talk that it would be Nick Senzel. Had the Reds decided to call him up earlier in the year.
Slice to the left side, curving towards the foul line. Jankowski over, and he'll have room to haul it in. So the Reds will strand another. They've stranded 5 and still trail it 5-1. Up with MLB at bat. If you want to keep up on what's happening with the draft, Adam Dunn will be there for representing the Reds. It's your #1 Cincinnati Reds app. Customize your experience to catch up on every moment of the season. Get Reds home screen icons and features such as MLB.TV Game of the Day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, a whole lot more. You can download it. MLB at bat. Download it today. As Eric Hosmer struck out, bounced out 0 for 2. And you talk about developing a team with young players, and then how do you turn the corner? And the Padres did 2 things this offseason in an attempt to turn the corner. In fact, Andy Green, I mean, he was very clear, Chris, and there's Mark McGuire sitting next to him as bench coach. Here's the 1-1 to Hosmer. Andy Green said the one guy I really wanted this offseason was Zach Cozart. He said, I thought he would solidify our shortstop situation and also would be a bridge to their young shortstop who's coming up, Fernando Tatis Jr., who is expected to be the shortstop of the future. Well, they didn't get Cozart, so they went out and got Freddie Galvis from the Phillies.
Well, Cozart, as you remember, he signed very early in the offseason. So he wasn't around for very long, not anywhere near like Eric Hosmer, who is coming to the plate right now.
They really like Galvis. They like what he's brought to this ball club. Solid player as well. But the 2 guys they brought in were this guy, Eric Hosmer, and the other was Chase Headley. Great clubhouse guy, Headley, and a great clubhouse guy in Hosmer. Headley was released last month. He just hit a wall. I mean, 34 years of age. Nobody wins against Father Time.
Somebody hit the wall earlier than others.
And for Hosmer, they've got what, as advertised, both on the field and off the field. Great leadership in the clubhouse, and he's been outstanding on the field. There's a bouncer that's off the glove of Scooter into right field for a base hit. So Hosmer has a base hit to start things here in the 5th inning.
For Hosmer, the first hit of the series, an 0 for 4 last night. A strikeout in the fielder's choice so far in this game before this little ball goes off the end of the glove from Scooter Gennett.
But bringing in Hosmer is part of a plan to blend some veterans who have won with the young players coming up. And those two guys down at first, you talk to both of them, they have supreme respect for each other. Joey Votto and Eric Hosmer.
Well, they spent a boatload of money to get Eric Hosmer, and they're keeping their fingers crossed that, what is he, 28 years old right now, maybe 29, that he will stay together and be able to be productive. I mean, they have him until he is 35 years old.
8 years, 144 million.
I mean, for a franchise like this that doesn't have that kind of money to spend, that's a big commitment.
1 strike to Jose Perella, sacrifice fly and a line drive out to left. Hey, you know, I mean, look at Kansas City. They got a World Series out of it, but they drafted Hosmer, they drafted Gordon, they drafted Moustakas, all their own players, and then they lost all of them. Of course, they brought back Moustakas, but free agency looms for those teams. The Reds are in that same boat. Here they are, the 2 big first basemen and 2 outstanding contributors, huh, Chris? The numbers are pretty impressive for both of them.
Well, they're impressive until you really start looking at these numbers right here. I mean, this is where Joey Votto basically blows away the competition. Not necessarily in runs batted in, but getting on base. I mean, if Votto had a better supporting cast, those numbers that he puts on as far as on-base percentage, walks, and so on, they would really stand out. But when he's the main cog in the offense, he gets criticism because he takes walks and because he gets on base. Well, you know, why don't you throw Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge behind him and see what happens?
Jackson Stevens has started to loosen in the Reds bullpen. 1 and 2. Harvey on the mound facing Perella.
And both those guys that we just showed you in that picture are the main men in the offense. That's a big load to carry.
Harvey to the stretch. Now over 80 pitches. There's a bouncer. Can they turn this into 2? They'll get 1 at second. On to first. Not in time. Great job by Scooter on a ball that looked like it was partially deflected by Harvey. They get the lead runner. Oh, there's 1 out and there's 1 on. I hit the top of the mound, did not hit his glove. Good job. They get the first runner, and not in time as Perella scampers down the line. So 1 out, 1 on, runner at first, and here comes Villanueva, who's 0 for 2.
For a big guy, Perella moves pretty well.
Very versatile. Play the infield, play the outfield for you. Played left yesterday, playing second today. There he goes. Big lead. Not much of a chance for Casale here. Again, 3 steps and more from the lead, and he had a big lead to start with. So runner in scoring position with 1 away. No double play possibility now. I don't know. Did he get his heel? Darren Ebert checking, saying we will check. It looks like he may have gotten his heel. The heel right here. Take a look. Very close. Looked like the hand did get in before the touch. Worth taking a shot at, though. So they will review the play. Here's a good view from Scooter. He got the right heel first, then the left heel, and it looked like he might have gotten the right heel before the hand actually touches the bag. I think they got him, Chris.
You know, the right hand doesn't touch the bag, and if he comes in there and touches the bag with his right hand, but he never really does. He kind of pulls it back and then gets it with his left only. I don't know. These are hard to call, George. Every time I think I'm on one, I'm completely wrong. So we just let them sort it out in New York.
Sally's fingers crossed, hoping that they nail this one. Ball now at the crew chief with the glasses. Out, they got him. Good job by Scooter to get the tag down. Good job by Casale as Barella had a big lead and a 3-step plus break, but nice job by Scooter to slap the tag on the right heel, and they erased the run.
By the video man Bo Thompson, deep in the bowels of Petco Park.
Big help for Harvey, 2 away, nobody on, and here's Villanueva. Well, Villanueva has been kept in check pretty much by the Reds the last 2 nights. He had a single last night, 1 for 4. A long shot down the left field line, but well out of play. Sitting on 15 homers. First appearance for Matt with the Reds was back on May the 11th, 55 pitches, 77 his second appearance, 93 and 85 his last 2. So you figure either way this will probably be his last inning, unless he gets out of this one quickly here. Jim Riggleman trying to nurse him along, building arm strength back. There's a swing and a miss. So 1, 2, 3 even with the base hit for Matt Harvey. Padres still lead at 5-1.
Davis hit for the cycle at Riverfront Stadium against, ironically enough, the Padres. Double in the first, single in the third, 3-run home run in the fourth, and the hardest part, triple in the seventh. It's the first cycle for the Reds since Frank Robinson in 1959, and the Reds currently hold the longest drought without a cycle at 29 years. You take away the Marlins from that list because they have never had one. But Eric the Red, 1989, the last time a Red has done it.
Still great to see those highlights, isn't it, JD? And you get a chance to spend a lot of time with him in spring training. Son of a gun, the guy looks like he can still play, doesn't he?
I say that to him every year. Like, can you take an AB? If I give you 5 at bats here, would you get at least 1 hit? He said, oh, I'd get 2. The problem is I can't run to first base. If I could just hit, I'd be all right.
Whenever I'm at spring training, I always go to the minor league side and watch him do his tutorial on base running. And he's still, it's amazing on how he talks the game of base running, how he talks the mentality of base running. Eric the Red, Eric the Great, Eric Davis. Here's Eugenio, a walk and a fly ball out, facing the new pitcher for the Padres. Simber does come in. Adam Simber relieving Lauer, and Lauer made up for the blip in the radar screen his last start. Pitched exceptionally well here this evening. Allows the Reds a double by Scooter in the first inning, the home run by Casale in the second, a single by Votto in the third, and a single by Schebler in the fourth inning, and the double to lead off by Peraza in the fifth. Other than that, he slammed the door on the Reds. Here's the side-winding right-hander Simber. He gets Suarez for the first out of the sixth inning.
Kind of interesting to see Simber pitch. He's a guy that throws from an arm angle that hitters rarely ever practice hitting the ball or even seeing the ball. And for teams that are always trying to get an edge here and there, you know, something different, Simber has given that and added that dimension to the Padre bullpen. First year in the major leagues. He's been in 23 games so far this year, 24 including this one. Has a pretty good earned run average of 3.1.
And the Padres' earned run average out of the bullpen has been spectacular at 3.2. That's the fourth best in the National League. And that's been one of the reasons why they've turned their record around the last month. 15 and 13 in the month of May. So they get a lead more often than not, they hold it. And Brad Hand, we told you earlier, he's the reliever of the month for the Padres during the month of May. Adam Duvall takes it inside, 1-2. Waves at that. That's strikeout number 2 for Simber. Let's go back to the studio. Here's Brian Giesenslaw with our update. Gies. Good job, Geese. They'll be by with a complete story of tonight's baseball and the Reds wrap up with Reds postgame coming up. Jeff Pecoro and Brian Giesenslaw. By the way, it comes at the right time for Benintendi with Mookie Betts going on the disabled list today. They're certainly #1 player. Swing and a miss, a little, you know, you throw one at about 78 and then throw an 87-mile-an-hour fastball. It looks like it's 95.
Yeah, but it's also the angle. You know, most pitchers throw a downward plane. So when a batter faces a guy that throws an upward plane like Simber does, I mean, sometimes it just doesn't compute to your brain. Some pitchers from down there throw a ball that has a hump in the ball where it looks like it's coming up waist high and then it sinks. And they've got another pitch that'll just continue like an upshoot.
0-2. Been ahead of all 3 batters this inning. 2 strikeouts so far.
I mean, let's face it, the average velocity of a major league pitcher is going up every year. And in 5 years from now, there's no reason why that you think it's going to stop. So 5 years from now, I mean, everybody may be throwing 100 miles an hour. So you're looking for something different here and there.
Release point. Wow. Boom. So a hit batter and the Reds get a base runner, and here comes Casale.
You keep telling yourself, okay, hang in there. There's no way getting out of that one.
I told Glenn Hoffman today what rather I told Danny Darwin today what Glenn Hoffman said yesterday about, I want to see Darwin because my ribs are still sore from when he pitched against me 20 years ago. And Darwin said, nah, I don't think that's true. I don't think I ever hit him. He remembers every one.
Well, he's got pretty good memory if he remembers all of them. Well, Schebler's the guy that is used to being hit. He was hit 14 times last year. That was the fifth or sixth time this year. Sixth time for Schebler this year.
Here's Casale, a homer and a walk for Kurt. Matt Harvey due up next, and Dylan Floro's loosening in the Reds bullpen. That's a little wide, 3-1. So after going 0-2 on the first three batters he faced here in the inning, he's behind here 3-1. Down the right field line, but out of play. Been a roller coaster for Casale the last 4 years, up and down almost every year with the Tampa club. There goes the runner. There goes a base hit to center field. Rounding second, going to third will be Schebler. The throw will be cut by the shortstop Galvis, and the Reds have first and third. So Casale's been on base all three times, a homer, a walk, and this base hit. First and third, and with Harvey due up, it'll be the end of his night, as Jesse Winker will come out to face this right-hander. Always talking, Chris, and in a slow, methodical way. I mean, Danny Darvin never approaches any of his pitchers telling a story. It's always a discussion. And he believes in Matt Harvey. When he talked to him before the game, he thinks he's going to get it straightened out and he's going to be all right. Now he just hopes his Reds can come back and rally to beat this Padre club. So Harvey's night will be done as Jim Riggleman sends up his left-handed swinging outfielder. Winker a homer and 12 knocked in on the season. His first at bat here tonight. Greg Stammen now loosening in the bullpen for the Padres. And we talked about the art of pinch hitting, and Jesse Winker so far, along with Alex Blandino, two of the best in the league off the bench. Blandino available. Blandino, Dixon, Barnhart, the switch hitter, and Winker, the bench for the Reds offensively tonight.
I mean, that's a very young bench. Normally, bench spots on contending teams are given to those veteran players who've already made their mark as everyday players. They put up some numbers throughout their career. Now they're basically being relegated to part-time duty. But these guys are looking for full-time duty. I mean, it's rare that you have a bench as young as the Reds have up there, but they're in a rebuilding, trying to develop. And right now, until Winker and Blandino and Dixon break the starting lineup, this is where they're going to find big league time.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Al Romano cheering on his teammates, first and third, with 2 outs here in the inning. Swing and a miss. Simber strikes out the side, and the Padres still lead at 5-1.
military by sharing a photo or video with hashtag #HatsOffForHeroes. For each post, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support veterans.
Back at Petco Park, George Grant, Chris Welsh, Jim Day, and our crew. Reds looking for some runs in this one, trying to keep it right where it is right now. They trail at 5-1, and for the 15th time this year since he was called up in the middle of April, Dylan Floro will take over. And Chris, you put together a bullpen. The Reds did go out to get 2 veterans, but this guy's been a bonus. He's pitched very well.
You know, it's funny. The Reds have a good bullpen, really good bullpen, and they have a lot of different types of components. They've got a hard-throwing right-hander in Michael Lorenzen. They've got a sidearm, really any angle closer in Iglesias. They've got a couple of different types of pitchers, left-handers. And Floro is different as well. I mean, he's a guy that has a really good moving breaking ball. Got a good moving fastball, got a nice breaking ball, nowhere near overpowering, but he's figured out how to get hitters out with what he's got. And he's constantly trying to get better. I mean, he is picking the brain of Jared Hughes down there about improving on that sinking fastball. And Hughes is a real interesting guy to talk to.
Hughes and Hernandez really have given the Reds a good presence down in that bullpen, as well as performing well on the mound. Here's Reyes. 2 singles, 1 to center and 1 to right, facing Floro for the first time. The Padres 5 runs, 6 hits, no errors, 2 left on. The Reds a run, 6 hits, 1 error, 7 left on. Two hopper down to short. Peraza takes that last tricky hop and will throw out Reyes. 1 away. And don't forget, every weekday morning, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics, Undisputed, with Skip and Shannon weekdays from 9:30 a.m. to noon, only on FS1. Here's Freddie. Galvis today 1 for 2, a single to right and a bounce out to second. Now you talk about, we mentioned it, Chris, last year in Philadelphia. This guy may be one of the more underrated shortstops in the game. You hear a lot about a lot of different shortstops, and no, he's not among the top 4 or 5, but he's very solid in every way he plays the game. And you talk to Andy Green, there's a slap punch down the left field line, but it'll be out of play. We told you about Green really wanted Zach Cozart, didn't get him. He gets this guy, and he's very happy with what he's got.
Well, he had 20 home runs a couple of years ago, Galvis did, and you know, he can turn a double play. He covers a lot of ground. He's a left-handed hitter, so that always is or he's a switch hitter actually, so that's always a plus when you're an infielder. I thought if he's not underrated, he is certainly underappreciated.
Yeah, good point. Great point. Line drive left. Duvall going back, reaching up, got it. And say underrated and underappreciated and left to that guy too. Adam Duvall, very solid. The guy who grew up as an infielder playing short and third. He's come up with some highlight reel catches for the Reds the last couple of years. Right now his fielding percentage best in the National League. Franchi Cordero is on the disabled list. The center fielder also figures to be an everyday left fielder and a good one here for a long time.
That's pretty good action on that fastball for a guy that got up there at 94 miles an hour for Floro. I mean, not just side to side, but watch how it sinks when it's down around the knees.
A.J. Ellis walked and bounced out in his 2 plate appearances. And the other part of, when you watch Floro too, we watch him from up here and you see him from behind. When you watch it from behind home plate, I mean, he hides the ball so well. He gives you a little bit of his back, his elbow, he turns a little bit. So it's not just stuff, it's how you pick up that stuff. And he makes it more difficult to pick it up. Take a look from here like you're a hitter. Trying to thread the needle on that outside corner, doesn't. 3-1. By the way, talking about the Reds bullpen, if you weren't with us on Reds Live before the game today, the Reds did make a move. Austin Bryce was activated off the disabled list, and Homer Bailey was put on the disabled list with knee discomfort. So it'll be a while before the Homer Bailey saga continues. Will he be a starter when he comes back? Will he be in the bullpen? But Austin Bryce is back.
I don't think anybody knows the questions to those, or knows the answers to those questions at all, George, including Homer, Jim Riggleman, Nick Kroll, Dick Williams, anybody. I mean, this is just one of those situations that's going to have to play out.
Scooter flags it down, bobbles it, and will not have a play. Margot, a base hit. Scooter got a glove on it, but couldn't make the play.
Scooter went a long way to get this ball. He's in shallow right field at the time, and true, if he gloves it, he's going to be able to get his man. They're going to nail him with an error. Oh, now they've changed it to a signal.
Yep, single.
All right. I think that's a fair call.
Puts a smile on Margot's face. 2 away. And here comes Spangenberg to pinch hit in the pitcher spot. So Simber will go an inning following Lauer's strong performance, and Spangenberg back to the plate with a 174 average. Rough night last night, 0 for 4 and 3 strikeouts, starting at second base. Floro to the stretch with 2 on, 2 outs. On the corner for a strike. This game 2 of the 3-game series. Tomorrow it'll be Luis Castillo against Tyson Ross. Again, a different start time. It'll be 6:10 Cincinnati time tomorrow. 3:10 San Diego time. Big swing and fouled off, but held onto by Casale. So Floro gets out of trouble. Here comes Billy Hamilton, and the Reds looking for runs, heading to the 7th. The first at bat as a Cincinnati player. Smile for Kirk Casale, his 20th career homer, first in the National League, first for the Reds. That's the lone run the Reds have. That tied the game at 1, but then trouble in the second. Single by Reyes, single by Galvis, and a double by Margot makes it 3-1. And then a sacrifice fly made it 4-1, and a base hit by Jankowski made it 5-1. There's the bottom line. 5 runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Padres. They've left 4 on base. Casale's home run, the lone run that the Reds have. They have 6 hits, 1 error, and 7 left on base. Here's Craig Stammen who'll take over. We talked about the tail end of this bullpen. You get to 7, and while their overall ERA is 3.2, Their 7.8 and 9 ERA is even better. This guy has been solid for them the last couple of years.
Interesting. He's one of these guys, Craig Stammen is, that broke into the major leagues first couple of seasons as a starter and had an earned run average in each of those 2 seasons over 5. They converted him to a reliever in Washington, and he really began to blossom. You know, those short stints, his stuff, you know, improved a little bit. Came over here last year, pitching 60 games, and this year he's been having a better season.
So Stammen will enter the game, and that'll necessitate a couple of other changes. Matt Caesar goes to left. Jankowski goes from left to right, and here's Billy banging one into center. So the leadoff hitter on here in inning number 7. Billy sitting on 10 stolen bases. Down at first with the Reds trailing by 4. There's Matt Caesar. He's your left fielder, and Jankowski moves from left to right. Reyes out of the game.
Reds have had base runners on every inning. They just have not been able to come up with a hit to drive anybody in.
Stranded 2 in the first, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, and 2 in the 6th. Peraza stretched his hitting streak to 6 with a double last time up. Struck out, flied out his other 2 plate appearances.
This year against A.J. Ellis, the opposition has had a pretty good run. Literally, they have stolen 13. They've been thrown out twice. Now, a lot of that relies on who's pitching out there, but there's no reason why you can shut the running game down. Stammen will get his fair share of ground balls. Happened last night. Billy Hamilton got on base, ended up staying at first base, and I think it was a victim of a first end of a double play ball.
Peraza bangs one off his left ankle right below, right in the shin guard area.
Well, where the shin guard would have been.
Yeah.
Big difference.
The big swingers love those guards. The speed guys, Hamilton and Peraza, you never see them wearing them. They'll shake it off, trying to hang in.
Sounds easy to us, doesn't it, when you say, well, he'll shake it off.
Oh,
meanwhile, that baby is throbbing like Fred Flintstone's thumb.
Tomas Vera out is checking him out. Your day, they call that a shin burger, didn't they, Chris? Ooh, right off the.
I still want to know what happened to the cold spray.
Yeah.
Remember that stuff the trainers used to come out there and it would come in a long metal cylinder and he turned it upside down and he opened a valve and next thing you know there's ice forming of it. Look at the bump.
It's bumped
already.
already.
See him already. It's like he's hiding a Titleist underneath the sock.
You usually stick them in your back pocket. You need enough of them, don't you?
No. One in each pocket.
1 ball, 1 strike to Peraza. Billy a little bit bigger lead. He bluffs going. This one bounced down to third. He's not going, and they'll get 1, and then they will turn 2. Looked like he wanted to steal. He doesn't, and that prevents the Reds from avoiding the double play. So the ground ball double play erases the base runner, 2 away.
You know, if Billy Hamilton doesn't run when he gets on base, what's the difference between him and a 300-pound outfielder that gets on base 27% of the time?
And whether it was under Brian Price or Jim Riggleman, Hamilton has the green light. I mean, it's very seldom do they put a hold on him.
I mean, you got a lot of outs to go here, and it's not like it's a 9th inning and you're down by 4 and you play a little more conservative. You peck away here. The Reds haven't scored except in the 2nd inning on a solo home run. And you got the the cream of the order coming up here, and Jeanette and Votto. I mean, you got to push it a little bit. You got to take it to them.
Here's Scooter, double fly ball out and ground out. Other end of the dugout. Tomas Vera is checking on Peraza after he banged that ball off his shin. Now, every time I see a foul ball off from the knee on down, Chris, I think of Todd Hollandsworth. Remember, they thought it was just a little bit of a bruise, turned out to be a broken bone. It was months before they diagnosed it properly, and really he never was the same. You have to be so careful on those small bones from the knee on down. Scooter slaps it foul and out of play. Time for IGS bring you the energy moment. Here's tonight's story. The National League teams with 3 players with 10 or more homers. You know about Scooter. He and Eugenio Suarez each had 8 during the month of May. Scooter now with 11, Adam Duvall 10, and Eugenio Suarez 10. And the Rockies, humidor or not, still 3 of them with over 10 home runs on the season. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Down and in, swing and a miss, and the Reds, even with the base hit, go 1, 2, 3 in the 7th. To the bottom of 7, top of the order due up for San Diego.
And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, sunsets are pretty everywhere, but when you're in the western part of our country, beautiful sunset from downtown San Diego and Petco Park. You spent a couple of nice days down here with Beth, Chris.
It's been nice, George. You know, they have the June gloom here where it gets cloudy in the morning, sometimes doesn't burn off until late in the afternoon. But the last couple of days here in San Diego, El Perfecto.
There's Jankowski to lead it off, top of the order. Hosmer and Perella due to follow. Well, they knew you were returning to San Diego, so they gave you good weather.
I like it.
JD, we've gone almost 2 games now. We haven't heard your familiar refrain from San Diego. Your Will Ferrell words.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Now we're home. Now we're here.
Well, we've got one more order of business to do today. I'm surprised that Jay didn't figure this out, but this is the birthday of one Jim Maloney today, celebrating a birthday, born in 1940. Probably watching up there in Fresno right now. And we love to see Jim every, of course, Reds Fest. You see him down during the Reds Fantasy Camp in the spring. And Jimbo, we wish you happy birthday. Boy, one of the Reds' greatest ever pitchers. And one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet.
One of the greatest guys, even more importantly. I mean, my trips to San Francisco always enjoyable when he graces us up in the broadcast booth, spends a couple innings and talks pitching. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Jankowski that misses inside, 2-2. Jankowski reached on an error, stole a base, scored in the first. Single to right, knocked in a run in the second, and bounced to second last time up. Floro's second inning of work. There's a dribbler. They better hustle. This kid can run, and they will not get it there. I don't know whether Floro missed the bag or Jankowski got there first. Boy, he motors down the line.
Yeah, he does. I mean, I'm not so sure in a dead race he could come anywhere close to Billy Hamilton, but he gets out of the box quickly. He runs hard the whole way, and I think he just outruns his play.
Yeah,
that's no man's land right there, because really Floro almost has to reach behind him. The throw is down a little bit. I mean, if the throw is chest high, then you can continue at full speed. That's just a tough spot. People don't realize how difficult that play is between the first baseman and the pitcher.
So leadoff batter on in the 7th. Jankowski's already stolen 1, 9 on the year. And here's Hosmer, strikeout, ground out, and single. Here he goes. They got a shot at him, but it won't be in time. Ten stolen bases now on the season for Travis Jankowski. Second off Reds pitching and Reds catching tonight. Both of them really breaks off the pitcher. Here's Hosmer now with an insurance run in scoring position. Tries to check it, doesn't. That's a strike. 0-2. If you're wondering why you see so many of those blue shirts behind home plate, this is Padres shirt night. So that's the giveaway, and they're prevalent behind home plate tonight. Missing inside with the fastball. You'd look good in one of those.
I'm trying to get one, actually.
I figured that.
Got someone back home who would love to have a Padre Hawaiian shirt.
Pecoro and Giesenslaw just called, said they want one too. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
They're on the list, George.
Yeah.
Just happens to be on the bottom of the list.
Yeah. That's why you got to bring Jesse out west. Jesse Jackson would have scouted up a truckload by now. Two balls, 2 strikes to Hosmer. Floro to the stretch with a runner on second. Hangs in there, stays alive. Dillon to the stretch. Here's the 2-2. Somehow got a bat on that to spoil another pretty good pitch. Hit hard. Scooter knocks it down, but it squirts off his glove. Jankowski, with his speed, will score easily. So it'll go as a hit for Hosmer and a run batted in. It's his 25th run batted in, and he's 2 for 4 tonight.
Both the Hosmers hits the same way on the ground, right side. That one gets off the glove of Jeanette. All set up by the stolen base by Jankowski.
2 productive stolen bases by Jankowski tonight. In the first, he reached on the error, stole second, and then scored on 2 ground balls. Here's Perella, sacrifice fly, played to Jankowski, and there's a bullet through the middle of the infield. That's a base hit. There's still nobody out, 2 on. Jackson Stevens loosening in the bullpen for the Reds. Dangerous territory here. The Reds are already trailing by 5, and the big home run power of Villanueva. Reds have kept him intact with only 1 base hit so far in the series and no long balls. He's sitting on 15 homers. How good has Villanueva been? Well, the last rookie, and he is a rookie, to have 15 home runs by the 1st of June, Albert Pujols in his rookie year. And 3,000 hits later, Prince Albert's heading to the Hall of Fame. Villanueva's a long way to go to that, but boy, he's become a matinee idol here. 1 ball, 2 strikes. In the dirt, good block by Casali.
Boy, you can really see him get kind of loaded up Villanueva. You can see where the bat speed comes from. It looks like he gets his legs ready to go. He's got his front leg up on a toe a little bit to make sure he keeps his weight back. Big, strong guy.
We've talked a lot about this park, playing big in the early days, and it's still tough to hit home runs here, but you watch him in batting practice. Big time shots everywhere around the ballpark. There's a bouncer into left. The runner will hold at third. A perfect throw to the plate by Duvall, and the bases are loaded. Still nobody out here in the 7th.
And he's got a leg kick. It reminds me a little bit of Eugenio Suarez. And it's all about timing for him. He gets on top of this one. Floro gets the ground ball. Unfortunately for him, it finds that hole between the third baseman and the shortstop. He's had tough luck this inning.
So Floro will exit with the bases loaded.
Yeah, Perella had a hard hit ball up the middle, but the other 2 balls on the ground and could have been double play balls.
Double switch. Peraza comes out. Jackson Stevens comes in. We'll take time out for these messages. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. To receive the Scooter Jeanette bobblehead presented by Dynergy Energy Services. See your Reds take on the Cardinals for as low as $12. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Now double switch by Jim Riggleman. Alex Blandino comes in at shortstop. Peraza exits. And here comes Jackson Stevens, who will take over. If you joined us late, Matt Harvey started. Gave up a run in the first on an error, stolen base, ground ball, and a sacrifice fly. Gave up 4 runs in the second as the Padres had 4 runs on 4 hits. And he exited on the short end of a 5-run score. Floro here in the 7th in trouble with the bases loaded, 1 run in, and here comes Jackson Stevens. Matt Caesar's first at bat. He came in for Reyes in the 5th inning. Reyes 2 for 3 in his 3 at bats before exiting. Inside, and it's 2-0. Caesar, one of the top bench players for the Chicago Cubs before coming here to San Diego. He was the #1 pinch hitter for the Cubs, and that role now falls to Tommy La Stella. They would, each year there'd be a battle in spring training to see who'd be kept. The first couple of years La Stella was sent down. Caesar would usually be one of the top pinch hitters in the league. This year, Chris, La Stella's 12 for 28 as a pinch hitter. He's been outstanding. And Matt Caesar, a part-time player and pinch hitter here in San Diego. Three and one. This one blooped into center. Billy won't get there in time. 1 run scores. 2 runs will score. And the Padres play add-on here in the 7th. So Caesar, while he entered the game earlier, it's almost like a pinch hit performance for him.
Little jam shot base hit that everybody reads as a base hit immediately because it's a big outfield and you got to play your outfielders a little bit deep. So 2 score easily on that, and boy, oh boy, the Padres are just hitting it in the perfect spots here tonight.
3rd run of the inning, all those runs charged to Floro. Well, now 1st and 2nd, still nobody out. And here's Freddie Galvis, the shortstop. Galvis tonight singled on a changeup, bounced to 2nd and line to left. Reds double play depth, middle of the infield, hoping to pick up 2 outs here. That's wide. Right down the middle for a strike, 2-1. Trying to slap it the other way, fouls it off. 2 balls, 2 strikes to the Padres shortstop. Great to have you with us here in San Diego. Jim Riggleman returning to San Diego, where he was the manager here from '92 through '94. His first managerial tenure, then going to Chicago, on to Seattle, and then Washington. Down to 3rd. Do they get the out at 2nd? Yes, they do. Good job by Suarez. Nice job by Scooter Gennett to get to the bag.
One of the harder hit balls in this inning. Another opposite field attempt there by one of the Padres hitters, and this time there's Suarez to pick it off and turn it into a twin killing. Boy, did the defense ever need that.
Hard hit ball, but the twin killing helps Stevens. 2 outs in the inning now, only a runner at first. And here comes A.J. Ellis, the catcher. Don't forget, right after Reds baseball, Brian Giesenslaw, Jeff Pecoro will wrap up the Reds game. We'll give you all the highlights and tell you more about what's happened in baseball tonight. Kent Greenweaver, Ron Millinor, man in the fort back in Cincinnati. Here down in the truck at Petco Park. Josh Hall, our producer. Brian Filippetti, our director. And Mueller dialing up some graphics for you. And Matt Sigafus, as usual, giving you some highlights. Swing and a miss. Hardy on that. And it's 1-2. Bullpen's gotten better. You're right, Chris, as the Reds have evolved this year, as they get people healthy too. It's a time of opportunity, and Jackson Stevens taking advantage of that opportunity.
He's a young guy. You don't realize that he's kind of one of these under the radar pitchers that has had an opportunity to come in and kind of be in a mop-up role here and there, but he's pitched well and he's been able to stay up here at the big league level. That's the idea. Get your days in. Hoping that someday maybe a starting spot will open up if he continues to throw the ball well.
2-2. That's the way you really started making it to the major leagues. When did you finally feel that you belong?
It's tough. I mean, you go out and you throw yourself a couple of deep games and realize that your stuff is good enough, that you don't have to try to add anything extra to your fastball or add anything extra to your breaking ball. But once you get here, the reason you got here is because your stuff's good enough along the way. And I think that's when you realize it.
Lifted to left field. There is Duvall. He'll glove it, and that'll do it. 3 runs cross the plate for the Padres, though, in the inning. They lead it 8-1. We go to the 8th. Cap in this one. Hopefully the Reds can rally. If they do it, they'll have to do it against the 4th best bullpen in the league. Padres with that 8-1 lead, and they'll go to the bullpen again. The 9th Padre to make his major league debut in 2018, the most in Major League Baseball, and that is Jose Castillo. Before the game tonight, last night's starter Walter Lockett was sent back to AAA El Paso, and this young man hopped the plane and he makes his debut. Chris,
I think you're going to see more and more of this with the teams, you know, like the Padres. The last couple of years it's been the Reds that have run up so many young pitchers out of the minor leagues just to kind of get a look at them. And the Padres are in that same situation now, although their bullpen is very good.
Reds no stranger, of course. Zach Weiss, Tanner Rainey, Rosell Herrera, Brandon Dixon, Alex Blandino all made their debuts this year too. So 9 for the Padres, 5 for the Reds, and that's been the way the last couple of years have gone. The Reds have had similar numbers, 8 or 9 making debuts in the last couple of years. Jim Riggleman, Brian Price before him have seen a whole lot of young folks come up from AA and AAA. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Votto. Joey flied out, singled, and flied out. Getting a look at this lanky left-hander. Swings and misses for a strikeout and out number 1 here in the 8th inning.
I remember that at bat.
There's Suarez, walked, flied out, struck out. Now you were talking about Jim Maloney before, Chris, and he always talked about, you know, what did he throw, 260 some odd pitches on one of his no-hitters, you know.
He probably hit 260 pitches per game, and just one of them happened to be a no-hitter, right? He had 4 of them.
Yep. And the difference today, I mean, how often do you see anybody first pitching a complete game? But so often with the influx of these new younger rosters, pitchers come up from AA, pitchers come up from AAA, and you can see Joey Votto trying to measure this left-hander and his breaking ball and getting a view of it. You can look at all the video in the world, but until you stand in the batter's box and try to pick up the release point, it's a whole different story.
Well, he got Votto on that breaking ball, and he just unleashed a 96-mile-an-hour fastball on Suarez. Pretty good combination.
That's his calling card. He's got a heavy sinker. Outstanding at El Paso. Swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts for this youngster making his major league debut.
He might be thinking it's easier up here than it is down in the Coast League.
Well, that is a hitter's league, isn't it? I mean, you pick up the newspaper and try to look at the leading hitters in the PCL, and there's usually about 25 or 30 players that are over 300.
I mean, he just, in his major league debut, goes and strikes out Votto and Suarez back-to-back, both on that slider of his.
There's Duval, 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts. Padres, by the way, just like the Reds, have some great minor league instructors. Rod Barajas is the manager down at AAA El Paso. Outstanding major league catcher. He's mentored all the catchers that have come through here. And Brownswell Patrick, an outstanding pitching coach, destined to be a major league pitching coach one of these days. Andy Green in close communication with Barajas all season long. Two and 1 to Duval with Schebler on deck. 8-12-0 for the Padres. 1 run, 7 hits, and an error for the Reds. Breaking ball drops in there. We'll go full 3-2. How about this for a major league debut? Jose Castillo gets a standing ovation here in San Diego. He strikes out the side, making his major league debut. Welcome to the big 65. Reactions and game insights. Follow Fox Sports Ohio on Instagram. Petco Park in San Diego, downtown San Diego. The Padres, who have been rolling through their homestand with heavy hitting until last night, lead it by a score of 8-1. Brandon Dixon comes in at first base, and first pitch swinging. Margot pops out to Blandino, the shortstop. So Dixon's down at first. Schebler still in right field. Hamilton, Duval in left. Suarez, Blandino, Jeanette, the rest of the infield. Here's Hunter Renfroe, who will pinch hit in the pitcher spot. Renfroe started last night's ball game. Did have a couple of base hits, 2 for 4. Charged with 2 errors. Padres, you can talk about how they've improved. They are a better defensive team this year. The defensive metrics, not just errors. In fact, they're just about even Steven with the Reds in errors, but little by little they're getting better defensively. The defensive metrics of this day and age put them behind only the Brewers, the Diamondbacks, and the Cubs in the National League. Dribbler, here comes Suarez, but he won't be able to make a play, and the speedy Renfroe will beat it out. He's playing deep to start with, so I'm not even sure he throws him out if he makes the play.
Been that kind of a night for the Reds, really. Ground balls just off the edge of the glove. Fly balls that just drop in right in front. And they're going to hang him with an error.
Ooh. Like I said, on the high hop with Suarez playing deep, I'm not sure he had him anyways, even if he makes a clean play of it.
Yeah, where was that score when I was pitching here? Those were all base hits.
Phil Collier would come down and say, hang with him there, big guy, wouldn't he?
He still owes me about 4 or 5 earned runs.
One of the great names in the history of San Diego sports. Great writer. Still 1 out, 1 on, and here's Jankowski's had a good night. Reached on an error, stole a base, scored in the first, singled in a run in the second, bounced out, and then reached on a dribbler down the first baseline. Jackson Stevens gets it. 1-6. Yes, sirree, 3. Jankowski, tough to double him up, but the Reds do it. Last roundup for the Reds. They trail by 7. Has been brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Well, the Reds have gone places on this road trip. Colorado, then Arizona, and they're wrapping it up here in San Diego. The 3-city road trip. They were 1-2 in Colorado, 1-2 in Arizona, won the first game against the Padres yesterday. And trailing here as we go to the 9th. Here's Phil Hughes, the newest acquisition, the veteran right-hander, once a starting pitcher for the New York Yankees, who's picked up this past week for cash and a 74th number draft pick. And Chris, the Padres hoped that he could provide some veteran leadership. Now a veteran seems, we remember when he broke in. There's a rocket shot and a big swing by Schebler. That's going to be gone to right. One pitch, one bullet into right field, and Scott Schebler picks up his 7th home run of the season, and the Reds have cut the gap to 8-2. Sweet spot, sweet swing, and number 7 for Schebler.
Boy, it sounds good when he gets a sweet spot on his bat.
Well, the Reds, we've told you this story, their 19th home run on the first pitch of an at-bat. That's most in the National League. And the Reds are now within 6. Here's Casale. The 2 Reds runs, both by homers. This one by Schebler, one by Casale back in the second. In his first Cincinnati at bat, he hit his 20th career homer. After that, he walked and singled. So officially, he's 2 for 2. His transition coming to Cincinnati after Tony Cruz was sent down to Louisville. Really started today. He joined the club yesterday. Danny Darwin and Darren Ebert and Tucker Barnhart sat with him for the good part of 45 minutes in the clubhouse, going over each pitcher, going over their philosophy and signs. Big swing and a pop up into center field. Margot calling. He's got it. Casale retired, 1 away. And just like we promised you, it's time for Miller Lite Hold True Moment of the Night. It's a moment for Kurt Casale, the home run back in the second that tied the game at 1. A rocket shot into the Western Metal Supply Company building down the left field line. Good to get the first one out of the way as a rookie, and good to join a new team and get the first one out of the way too. By the way, there in the right side of your screen was Darren Ebert, who was the acting bullpen coach while Danny Darwin was away and Teddy Power took over. Chris, it's been great to watch him in action. I mean, he's been in the minor leagues, but watching him this year, what a tireless worker and a smart baseball guy.
Yeah, he is. I've had some conversations with Darren that have been very impressive. Didn't know much about him. He's been in the Reds organization for quite a while. Kind of the assistant pitching coach right now. Every team seems to have an assistant hitting coach, pitching coach, quality control coach. But a smart guy, and I think he adds a lot.
Great addition to the Reds this year. A
Played
hard
a little
worker
bit in
too.
the major leagues. Had a cup of coffee back with the Braves back in the days of Schmaltz and Glavine and Maddox.
Pretty good company to hang around with.
Yeah. Got good tea times too.
They always will. Fly ball to right. Over is Jankowski. He'll glove it. Second out of the inning. And looking for the perfect gift for a new parent? Check out the Reds Rookies Fan Club. Each membership features exclusive Reds Rookie swag, including a bucket cap, photo frame, bib, and a whole lot more. Plus, they get tickets, the opportunity to participate in a parade on the field, and mascot photo sessions. Memberships are only $20. Visit reds.com/fanclubs. Phil Hughes' first performance for the Padres here in the 9th inning, trying to close the door. The Reds down to their final out with 2 away. And here's Billy Hamilton. The Reds hope to rekindle something with Matt Harvey, and in a similar fashion, the Padres hope to rekindle something with Phil Hughes. In the bullpen now, but they don't rule out the possibility that he could be in the starting rotation at some point in time too. No balls, 2 strikes.
Hughes and Harvey are connected in a lot of ways, mainly the fact that they have both suffered and have had surgery for TOS, thoracic outlet syndrome. In fact, Hughes had it about 16 days earlier than did Matt Harvey, and Harvey called him after that. So what's your recovery been like? That's all she wrote.
Strikeout for Hughes. The Reds go down here in the 9th inning, and the Padres will win game number 2. Travis Jankowski started all of it in the 1st inning. Hughes will close it out here in the 9th. 8 runs, 12 hits, no errors, 5 left on base for the Padres. 2 runs, 8 hits, 2 errors, 7 left on base for the Reds. 31,700 plus here. Watched a major league debut of that young man, Jose Castillo, in a 2-hour and 50-minute baseball game in San Diego. More to talk about when we return after these messages.